Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the Selling to the State of Maryland Digital Outreach event. We're delighted you could join us today. It's being brought to you in partnership with Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation, and they have a specific pathways program that you're going to be hearing a little bit about today. So we're glad that they could come on board as a partner. Today, we're going to hear from Alicia Moran, who is the manager of the Small Business Services at Prince George's County EDC, and Kristen Irvin, who is the Training and Outreach Manager in the Business Enterprise Administration for Maryland Department of General Services. And finally, Alison Tarvik, who is the Director of Communications and Outreach at the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs. So a great panel on there. A little bit of housekeeping. We will be starting very shortly, and there will be lots of opportunities for you to ask your questions to the speakers. And the way you do that is by typing them out in the chat box on your screen. We will try to get to as many questions as possible within the hour. We will pause at the end of each presentation and take questions. And then we'll also hopefully have time at the end for some Q&A. So make sure you don't wait till the end to type out your questions. Feel free to type them throughout the event. We encourage you, of course, to stay to the end. This webinar is being recorded and will be broadcast on the Maryland Ptac website and YouTube channel, and it should be available tomorrow. A little bit about the Maryland Ptac. It is our mission to help Maryland-based businesses to fully compete in federal, state and local government procurement processes. We offer individualized counseling and group training. Our services are free and confidential. And if you would like to speak with a counselor, please go to our website, which many of you have already done to register for this, dptac.org, and register today. If you have been counseled before, just email your counselor to request another meeting. We are here to help serve the Maryland business community in procurement matters. So please take full advantage of our services. Okay, right. The first presentation coming up is going to be from Alicia Moran at Prince George's County EDC. Hi, Alicia. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Yasmin, and thank you for being our host today. We appreciate Ptac, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, one of our primary partners with the EDC, in bringing some of these pathways to procurement sessions to you. We want to welcome everybody, whether you're from Prince George's County or other counties. I just wanted to say a hearty welcome from Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation in Maryland, and just remind you to reach out to your own local economic development partners, wherever they may be, because they're there to assist you. So today we're talking about selling to the state of Maryland. Next slide. And my name again is Alicia, and there is my contact information. I am one of a team of people at the EDC here to help you. So we have colleagues, I have colleagues that specialize in retail and restaurant, government contracting space, government agency space, construction industry, manufacturing, technology, etc. So if you don't know us at the EDC, please feel free to reach out to me or others in the team, and we're here to help you. Next slide, please. So the pathways to procurement, we are really proud to bring this series. This is the 5th in a series of programs that we've done so far. And we want to thank all of our partners. We've worked with the Maryland Department of Transportation to bring about a certification related program. We worked with our Office of Central Services and the school system and other local procurement agencies in Prince George's County. We're working today with, as you heard, DGS, the Department of General Services, and the Governor's Office on Small, Minority, and Women Business Owners. Business Affairs, sorry. Next slide, please. Why are we doing this? There's billions of dollars in procurement opportunities, and right in Prince George's County, we have many federal agencies and also many state and local entities that are procuring entities. So selling to the government is a common thing that many of our businesses do. It's a unique process, and we want to bring tools to you. So that's partly why we're doing today's session. Next slide, please. Again, the pathways to procurement. There are many paths to procurement, and we hope that you will join us for some of our additional programs where we're talking about building out your pipeline and really capitalizing on your relationships and learning how to do true business development. So join us. There's many paths to success, and Pathways to Procurement is all about that. We're trying to give you the tools and resources you need to get to the goals you want to achieve. Thank you. Next slide. So the EDC, who are we? We are here again to support you as a business owner. We help with site selection. We help with economic and demographic data. We can help you if you're trying to lease or find a site for a new business. We can help you with the permitting process. We're here to tell you more about our industry sectors and our different community members, and we're here to connect you to financing and all types of tools. Next slide. The small business services, we do a lot of the programming and the workshops that you're seeing, like this one here today. And we've had a Pathways to Financial Management series that you may also want to know about and look into. We'll continue to do different pathway sessions. We've had legal series, a law firm that has done a host of series sessions with us on legal matters. And we do programming with our financing partners, whether that's FSC First or TEDCO or other financing entities. We want to connect you to local resources and federal resources. So those include our federal partners like you're hearing about today, our federal, state, and local partners. And you see behind me, our open space and innovation station. We have a business incubator and collaborative co-working space, and there are many other business incubators and co-working spaces around the community, as well as accelerators. So we would like to connect anybody to those resources as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Next slide. I would just encourage you to take a look at the Pathways to Procurement, the pgcedc.com. Register to get the BizBuzz so you know everything that's going on in Prince George's County, and check out the Pathways programs upcoming. Our next session will be May 5th, but right now we're really excited to have the Governor's Office and DGS here to tell us more about selling to the state of Maryland. Thank you so much, and I'm turning it over, I believe, to Yasmin and then on to Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Yes, Prince George's County EDC are fantastic partners. They recently joined us in putting this together and helping us to build a more robust procurement effort of education to the community. So we're so glad to have you on board, and we encourage you to get in touch and use their services. Okay, now we're going to go over to Kristen. Kristen, if you would like to share your screen, please.
There we go. All right. And Yasmin, just to confirm, you can see my screen?
No, right now we can see. Okay, yep, it's popping up.
Okay.
There you go.
1 second. All righty.
Looks good. Thank you.
I want to thank you for having us today, inviting us, and Alicia for having us here today. I am here to talk about eMaryland Marketplace Advantage, otherwise known as EMMA. During today's presentation, we're going to be moving rather quickly, but we're going to cover the following topics. We're going to talk about vendor registration, including assigning user roles and completing the SBR certification. I will also demonstrate how to search for open solicitations and then how to review a solicitation. I will end the presentation with an overview of the different instructional resources that are available, and then tell you where to go to get extra assistance if needed. So let's start with the vendor registration. I'm going to go into a live demonstration because I have been told that that is a very valuable tool. So we're going to try this today. So I'm going to bring up the EMMA screen. And for those of you who are not familiar with EMMA, to access the EMMA screen, you can visit procurement.maryland.gov to get to the page, or you can go to emma.maryland.gov. And here you see the screen for emma.maryland.gov. If you are a new vendor, you're going to want to go to the new vendor register now to get started. So taking a look at what this screen looks like as it loads, you will see the different sections of the registration form. And this is all an online form that you complete and then submit once you have all of the areas filled out. So in the upper left, you'll see your company information. This is your basic information about your company, including your legal name. It's going to ask you for your tax identification number. If you have a DBA or a trade name, you can and should enter it here. That is not a required field. You will note that the required fields are marked with a red asterisk so that you know that you have to enter information there. Under the organization type, this is the type of organization when you registered your business. You have different types of different choices here. So choose the one that you chose when you registered your business. To the right, you're going to see the general business address, and this is basically the address of where your company is located, your physical location. So that's pretty straightforward. Now we're going to get down into the procurement program section, and I want to just walk you through this for a minute or two. This is where you identify whether or not you're interested in getting certified in these programs. So specifically for the SBR, it's going to ask you a question. Is your company currently enrolled in any of the following programs? This question, if you are not already registered in EMA, the answer to this question will be no. So you want to make sure you select no because you're new to EMA and the certification for the SBR program takes place in EMA. Once you do that, it's going to ask you whether or not you'd like to apply for the SBR program. And what this does is when you select yes to this question, it triggers the system to give you a reminder once you have created your profile to go back in and then finalize that registration. That certification form. You can also select no here if you do have no interest in this certification, so that's perfectly fine as well. The same goes for the veteran-owned small business enterprise. If you are not currently certified in the VSBE program, you want to select no, and then it'll again ask you whether or not, let me select no. It'll ask you whether or not you'd like to apply for the program. Again, you can initiate this certification through eMaryland Marketplace Advantage as well. The third program it asks you about is your Minority Business Enterprise program. Now this one you may or may not already be certified in. So if you are currently certified and you say yes, it's going to ask you to enter your MBE certification number. If you're not sure what your certification number is, you can always go to the MBE database and pull that information. If you are not currently registered in the MBE, just simply select no. If you are interested in doing that certification, because it takes place outside of EMA, you would have to go externally to the Maryland Department of Transportation. The next programs it asks you about are the federal programs. Now, these are the programs that are certified through the federal government, through the Maryland Department of Transportation, and these questions are asked for informational purposes only. Again, these do not take place in EMA. It's just a way of feeding information into EMA. So you can enter yes or no whether or not you're certified for each of the programs. And keeping in mind, if you do answer yes, it will ask you to enter your certification number, or you can select no at this point. So either way, whatever happens to apply to your company, select the best response. These answers, or these questions, you will notice are marked with a red asterisk, which means they are mandatory fields. So you do have to submit a response to each of these. If we go down further in the product or service offerings, this is where you are to select the UNSPSC, or the United Nations Standard Product and Service Codes that apply to your business. Now, upon registering, you are required to select at least one code. However, it is recommended that you do take a little time to select more than one code, because it's very likely that your business applies to more than one code. And what happens here is the code you select will determine the notification emails that get sent to you when a procurement officer enters a solicitation into the system. So you want to make sure you spend some time in this area and select all of the codes that are applicable to you. So quickly, I'm going to take a look at this. Just one best practice quick tip is when you are searching for codes, open up the drop-down menu as you see here and select See All from the bottom of the screen. And what's going to happen is the search box is going to open here, allowing you to an easier search for these codes. You can search by keyword, and you can complete that search multiple times, use as many different keywords as you'd like, or you can go through what I call down here like a table of contents structure, where you can expand a code that is of interest to you and keep expanding to get down to the codes that you're interested in. Other thing I want to point out here is you can see how these are expanding. What you're seeing here is an expansion of the different levels in a hierarchy of the code. So for the example I opened, commercial, military, and private vehicles and their accessories and components. This is a code that begins with a 2-5, but the remaining digits are all zeros because this is at the highest level. As you add more digits to the code, every 2 digits creates a more specific code. When you are selecting the codes, what we recommend is, in this example, if you do supply buses, select the option for buses, but actually go up the different levels in the hierarchy and select each level at that hierarchy as well, just to make sure that when the procurement officer is selecting the codes, the code that you select gets captured. So that's how you select the codes. And again, you can enter as many codes as you would like. We do recommend that you take some time to select relevant codes though. The next section here is the area servicing. And you can see my codes populated right there because those are the codes I selected. The area servicing, now this is for informational purposes only. This area has no bearing on the notifications you receive. So even if you select that you service Calvert County, it's not going to limit you to solicitations that come out in a location that is in Calvert County. So it has no bearing on the notifications you receive. This is simply for informational purposes only so that we can kind of capture what businesses are serving which areas. And again, this can be changed at any time. You do have to select at least one county. You can select multiple. If you service the entire state of Maryland, you can select Maryland as a whole up here, or you can go down and select each individual county, whichever way you would prefer. So that's on the left side of the screen. I'm going to take us back up, and I'm going to go to our contact information here. And this is the information about you, the person that is registering your company, name, title, your email address. Keeping in mind that the email address you enter here will be the email address that is used for your login. So make sure you enter the correct email address and confirm it. And then you will create a password and confirm that password. Once you complete all of these sections, specifically you must complete the mandatory section, you can select the button for register, and that'll complete your registration. From here, you have to go log into the system to do the next step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us back. I'm going to remove this and take me back to my slide presentation to go over the next section, which is going to be assigning user roles. So what's going to happen is after you register, you want to log into EMA for the first time using the credentials that you just established. Once you do that, you're going to want to assign user roles. And what this does is it gives the user that you establish, which would be yourself, the permissions or the ability to receive notifications on behalf of your company and to make changes to your profile. So I'm going to walk you through this really quickly and show you that once you log in, you're going to select the option for company profile, and you see that on the left of the screen there. Oop, I have some animation in there. So there's your company profile. Once you select this, your company profile screen will open. You will notice that because you're signing in for the first time, the system's going to give you this warning saying these roles have not been assigned. So this is what we're going to do now. We're going to go through and assign these roles. And so on the company profile page, we want to click the icon for the little that shows like the little people. This means the internal contacts. Once you click on that, it's going to display all of the contacts, and the contacts are basically the individual users that have access to your profile. So it'll display all of those different users or contacts that have access to your profile. Since it's a brand new profile, you would be the only one with a contact at this point. But one thing you were going to notice is that under this contact, the user role box is empty. So to fill something in on this user role box and to select a role, you want to click the down arrow. This is going to expand the drop-down menu, and it's going to give you the option of selecting which role or roles, you can select multiple, you would like to add to the profile. Specifically, I want to focus on the admin role and the primary contact role, because those are the two roles that actually give you the ability to do something. The admin gives you the ability to access and edit the user profile, and it'll allow you to receive notifications related to the vendor record, such as when your SBR certification is up for renewal. The primary contact role is the role that should be assigned when you want to receive solicitation notifications. So to ensure that you are getting the notifications, it's very important to make sure that you go in and add that user role to any profiles that want to receive those notifications. If you'd like to add additional roles, you can always go back to this box. If you want to delete a role, you can see that they went right into that box, so that's how they get assigned. If you want to delete a role, it's very simple. All you do is click the X, and that takes that role away from that person so that they no longer have the ability to either receive the notifications or maintain the profile. As always, and I will emphasize this, save, 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 save. This system requires you to save as you move through screens. You cannot save enough, so make sure you hit save after everything that you do. All right, so now the other thing you want to do once you get into the profile after you create it is make sure that you complete your SBR certification. I'm going to just talk about this very quickly, very high level, because I mentioned during the registration process that you will indicate whether or not you're interested in this certification, but then the system will trigger you to complete the certification once you log in. So what happens is once you log in, you will receive a message indicating that you have documents to submit, and how you get to that is you click on this credentials tab on the left-hand side so that you get to your certifications area. And what you're going to see is all of the certifications that you currently have. Now you can see on this particular screen, there is an SBR application, but there's no information on it, which means there's no approval status, effective date, and so forth and so on, which means this vendor is not certified. So to add a certification, you want to click Add Certifications. Now don't go any further into it because the details of the certification would probably take, the remainder of this event. So we just wanted to show you high level. But I do want to go into quickly and show you searching for solicitations because that's another very important feature that vendors need to know how to search for solicitations. So I'm going to bring back up our live demonstration. So I'll pull Emma back up onto the screen, and I'm going to go home. I'm going to try to go home. All right, so this is the Emma screen on the home page again. Under New Vendor Register Now, you'll see a couple of other options. You can search for public solicitations, you can search for public contracts, and you can search for vendors. I'm going to show you the public solicitations. However, keep in mind that the search methods for searching solicitations and contracts is the same, so that information can basically be applied to both. So to get the public solicitations, you want to click on that option. What's going to happen is the screen is going to populate with some recent solicitations. This is very random. It has nothing to do with your profile. This is just the most recent solicitations that were put out on Emma. What we want to do is we want to search for the solicitations. You have a couple of options here. You can always use a keyword search. So whether you enter a single word or a very short phrase, you can search for solicitations in that manner. You can search by category, which again is going to be those UNSPS codes that we spoke about during the registration process. If you know specifically what code you're interested in, by all means, you can search for the codes here. The one thing you do want to make sure is you do not change the status. You want it to stay open, because open means that that solicitation is currently open and accepting bids. There are additional search features that you are able to utilize, and this is actually new to EMA versus the former system, where you have the ability to search on authority. And what the authority is the type of organization, the grouping. Because state agencies are not the only organizations using EMA to advertise contracting opportunities, you're going to see organizations that fall under state and community colleges, local governments and municipalities. Alicia, can confirm that Prince George's County posts information on EMA. State of Maryland, which would include any state agency throughout the state of Maryland, and then the University System of Maryland, which is the university colleges that fall under the university system. So once you select one of those, you are able to then further narrow it down by the specific agency that you'd like to search for. It even goes down to sub-agency and site if you know exactly what you're looking for. So that can be a valuable tool, and I highly recommend that whatever we're showing here today, go in and practice, play around, see what works for you. The other really great advanced search feature that you are able to use now is over here for the programs. So for the Small Business Reserve or the Minority Business Enterprise and the Veteran-Owned Small Business Enterprise programs, you can now search for solicitations based on what's there. So if the solicitation of an SBR designation, you can click this box and find it. If you're looking for one specifically with an MBE goal, you can click this box, and if that solicitation has an MBE goal attached to it, it'll show up in your search results. You will notice as you add search criteria, it will populate down here on the filters so that you can see exactly what filters you'd entered. If you want to remove a filter, you can either click the X down here or just uncheck the box, whatever works for you. Again, it's very important to play around and figure out how this works best for you. So I want to go into, and I'm going to do a state of Maryland, and I am going to search for, and because this is difficult, you can, if you know the agency specifically, you can start typing it and it'll automatically fill in that agency name. I'm going to fill in Department of General Services. That's the department that I work for. And we're going to do a search, just a basic search, and just see what happens. All right, what you're going to see is these are the results. If you look at the bottom, it tells you how many results fit the search that you performed. There's 36 results, but you can see there are not 36 results on this page. So just notice that there are multiple pages. So you may have to go through multiple pages if you have a significant amount of results. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to pick one of these, and I'm going to go into the solicitation to kind of show you some things. And I'm going to pick this solicitation here, which is the lease and rental of property or building. And this is the solicitation that you're looking at. This is the screen with all of this great information on it that summarizes what the procurement officer is looking for. You have the title, which admittedly, this is actually a horrible title. However, I chose this one because this is actually one of the solicitations that was recently made public by the governor for the movement of the state center employees. So that's why I chose this, but you can see that the title is not great. So if you were to do a keyword search, you probably wouldn't have found this. However, if you would have done a search on the UNSPS codes, it likely would have come up. And you can see it's a public notice. And the reason it's public notice is because they are simply notifying vendors of the opportunity, and they direct you to an outside source for instruction on how to actually submit. The main category is the one UNSPS code that kind of encompasses the entire project or procurement. The issuing agency, in this case, is the Department of General Services. And then important, the procurement officer and their email address will be listed. So if you have questions about this solicitation, there's your contact right there. That is the person you should be reaching out to, and that is the method in which you should be reaching out to them. There is a summary section. So the procurement officer can enter a short summary of the solicitation to give you kind of a snapshot idea of what they're looking for. The program participation goals will be listed down here. On this particular one, there are no participation goals, but when they are available, it will either indicate that it's an SBR designation or that there is an MBE goal and indicate what the MBE goal is. The most valuable part of any solicitation is going to be the attachments. This is really going to be the meat of the solicitation. It's going to contain the request for proposal or invitation for bid and all of the accompanying documents that really make up what the procurement officer is trying to do. So make sure that you always pay attention to these attachments. You can see on this one there are 3. If you want to look at the attachments, and you should look at the attachments, you just click on it, the file, and it will download. Going back up, a few more pieces of information at the top. ID number. So what this is this BPM number is the number that's automatically assigned by Emma to this solicitation. There's a lot and around. I am not going to get into that today because, again, that's a much longer conversation, but there's training materials out there that will help you understand that if necessary. Again, status open means it is open and accepting bids. The due or close date. This is very important because this is the date and the specific time in which the bid will stop. The system will stop allowing you to submit bids, or that there is a cutoff established for the submission of bids outside of Emma. So however you are submitting bids, this is the date and time that they must be submitted based on how the RFP or IFB indicates they should be submitted. So that really goes over a snapshot of how to search for solicitations. I want to end with the instructional resources because they're incredibly valuable to helping you continue your usage of Emma. So I'm going to bring over another screen now, and what I'm going to show you is just really quickly some of the resources that are available. Right here, this is the Office of State Procurement website, which is procurement.maryland.gov. What I will do after I finish speaking is I will start putting these links into the chat so that before you sign off today, you can open the links and save them to your computer so you have easy access to get to them whenever needed. But this is procurement.maryland.gov, and you'll notice that there is a training tab at the top. If you select that training tab, it opens the training page for both internal users, which are the procurement officers, and then vendors. Make sure you select the option for vendors, and you can browse and see which training resources are available on this page. The other great new addition to our training is we created a page for vendor training videos. It's housed on a site called GoToStage. And what this is these are quick reference guides they're videos that go along with our written quick reference guides. So if you are more a visual learner that likes to watch a video rather than flip through pages, this might be something that is appealing to you. I will give you the link to this site. I will also give you the link to the Maryland Department of General Services YouTube page so that you can view the full playlist here of Emma vendor videos. These are going to likely be the same videos that we're seeing on the GoToStage playlist, but it gives you another option for looking at those videos. Finally, I want to go to we're going to go back home because I neglected to talk about one important thing. And that is back on the procurement.maryland.gov page, the actual frequently asked questions right here, this link, and the quick reference guides. Those are 2 of our staple resources that we've had for vendors that includes answers to frequently asked questions, as it implies, and then quick reference guides, which are the written documents that you can print or follow on the computer to walk you through various processes within the system. I'm going to pull this really quickly just to point out the vendor Qrgs are listed at the top. There is quite a list of them. When you get down a little bit lower, that's going to be for the buyers. Those are not applicable to you, so make sure you stay up at the top. Finally, the last thing I want to show is the EMA. I'm going to go to the EMA site again, and I want to show you where to locate the EMA help desk information. If you have any questions about anything in this presentation, or if you have questions about EMA at all, please, please, please send your questions to the EMA help desk. They track the questions. They compile the questions for us so that we know what vendors are asking, so we know what training materials to produce in the future. EMA.helpdesk@maryland.gov is the help desk email address. It is right here, right on the EMA page, so that you can always access it. So please submit your questions there if you have any, need any additional assistance. So I think I probably went a little bit over. I tried to go as fast as I could, but hopefully that was okay.
Thank you, Kristen. That was great. I know it's a lot to go through, and we had said yesterday during our practice that we'll probably schedule a full hour just for you to go through EMA later in the year. I hope you're able to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll just have time for a couple of questions before we move on to the next presentation. And as Kristen said, the FAQs and the question and search areas of EMA will be there to help you out. And there you go, there's the email. So don't worry if you didn't get your question answered. Okay, first one is, let's see up here, are the SBR program on EMA and M.SBE the same thing?
No, SBR and SBE are very different programs. And Allison, if you want to chime in on here, please, but the SBR program is a state of Maryland program. It's a small business reserve program. It is a program used by state agencies that are using state funds to procure goods and services. The SBE program is a federal program in which it is used on procurements mostly by MDOT. I don't want to say solely because I could be possibly wrong. There might be one other example out there, but really you're going to see those on MDOT procurements that are using federal funds, and you're going to have the SBE, Small Business Enterprise designation, versus the Small Business Reserve designation. Also important to note that the programs operate very differently, so it is important to understand the difference on how each program operates. For the SBR program, you can learn more about that by going to the Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs website. I am sure Allison will bring that website up at some point. And the SBE program, you can learn more about if you visit the Maryland Department of Transportation website. I believe they have some material there that you can learn about the certification and the program.
Okay, great. And just one last question before we move on. Could you repeat where we can see the winners of contract awards?
Absolutely. So if you go to the EMA website, and it's that same website that you use to log or to register, if you go to public contracts, that brings up the system that, like I said, it looks very similar to what the solicitations look like, where you can search to see what contracts have been awarded. And then you can use your advanced search the same way you can do the, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Advanced search the same way you can use the search for the solicitations. So that's where you can find those that are published on EMA. Now keep in mind, I want to be very clear that I mentioned that a variety of organizations utilize EMA to advertise contracting opportunities. Not all organizations are required to or do publish their contracts here, though. So you may have to go to outside sites to see this information if it's for an organization that does not have a requirement to post contract awards in EMA.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to go over to our next presenter, Alison Tarvik. So let me get the presentation up and ready. Hold on.
Good morning, everyone, and Yasmin and Aaron, thank you so much for the opportunity to follow Kristen and build on all of the information that she has already provided for you. So we're going to roll through this slide deck. Let's go next. Listen, you guys, Maryland is open for business. This has been the mantra of the Hogan administration from day one. And yes, we are in an interesting economic environment due to the pandemic, but the focus of growing the private sector and creating jobs and improving the statewide economy remains the same. In fact, a recent study produced by WalletHub shows that we're the 9th least affected economy by the pandemic. And it's thanks to having highly effective resources, or having actual access to good resources and highly effective industries and a good, strong workforce. Maryland's invested over $250 million in state funds in COVID emergency relief programs in a variety of categories. Next. So look, you know, you have to stay informed in order to be able to get to those resources. And I think the worst thing that could happen in these current economic conditions is to miss an opportunity simply because you're not aware of it. So lots of ways to stay informed, but one is the state-sponsored website, specifically for businesses. So please get out and take a look at this website if you're not already using it as a resource. It's got all kinds of state, federal, and local information, and something that you should be bookmarking and following during this time. Next. Open for business also means that we are moving forward with vaccination plans. So everyone over the age of 16 is now eligible for vaccination, and sites and clinics are opening up all around the state. There is a webpage to stay informed, find ways and find those connections in your local community. So make sure you take a look at that as well. Next. So who are we at the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs, and how do we fit in? It's our job to connect small businesses to greater economic opportunities. Internally, we're working behind the scenes with the agencies that are implementing our socioeconomic procurement programs, and there are 3 in the state of Maryland. They span across 70 different agencies. And then externally, we're working directly with small businesses, making sure that you have access to resources, that you can get to them 24/7 through simple things like our website, and then a variety of training programs. So we have a program called the Technical Training Classroom, and then a format just like this webinar series where we provide all kinds of training. A lot of it is very specific to state procurement. We're trying to help you build that skill set, but we also tap business owners and entrepreneurs who have skills that you also need, and we bring them into those programs as well. So check us out on our website. Next. So let's talk real quickly about these 3 state procurement programs, these socioeconomic programs that the state of Maryland offers. The first is the Small Business Reserve SBR program. This is a prime contracting program and is technically a set aside. This goal is 15%. It spans 66 participating agencies. This is a race and gender neutral program. So if you meet the state's definition of a small business, then you can be part of this program. It's an online certification, as Kristen mentioned, and it happens in EMA. And once you get renewed, or once you get certified, it takes an annual renewal process. In this SBR program, when you are awarded a contract as an SBR, you receive 100% of the contract because it is in fact a prime contract. And this awards a $477 million in the FY19 fiscal year, and we have about 3,500 certified vendors in this program. In January, the governor announced the new year by starting off the year with an executive order that required all the participating agencies to be more proactive in designations to the Small Business Reserve program. We really think that this can help with economic regrowth as part of the COVID recovery. So the Small Business Reserve program is a big focus across state agencies right now. The Minority Business Enterprise program is predominantly a subcontracting program. Here, we have a statewide aspirational goal of 29%. This program is race and gender specific, so you have to complete an application-based certification process that is actually conducted by a department within the Maryland Department of Transportation. And it is a paper application or an online application. They actually teach a monthly webinar to show you how to complete the application process. So it's a bit intense, but the resources are there to help you do that. Our MBE program awarded $1.4 billion in the FY19 fiscal year, and there are about 7,600 firms certified through the MBE program. On the VSBE program, our veteran-owned small business enterprise program, this is the newest and right now the smallest of our 3 procurement programs, also predominantly a subcontracting program. This has a 1% statewide aspirational goal. Right now, there's a 3-step process for certification where veterans must be verified. Their veteran status has to be verified. Then they complete the certification, the application in EMA, and when we marry those 2 together, that completes the certification process. This also has an annual renewal. For both these subcontracting programs, MBE and VSBE, these MBEs and VSBEs are strongly encouraged to perform as prime contractors. So participation or certification in these programs in no way limits your opportunities to perform in the prime contracting arena at all. Goals and designations to the small business reserve program or goals for MBE and VSBE determination are made on a contract by contract analysis. So the more firms in these programs, the higher the goals we can set on the procurement side. So if you are eligible, I really encourage you to visit our website, go out and do some research and enroll in the programs if you are a good fit. Next, I want to share the 3 most important things I think that you need to know about the state contracting arena. And the first is that these certifications are not a requirement for doing business with the state of Maryland. As I mentioned, nearly every contract is reviewed for participation goals, so it becomes a value-added proposition to how you can compete. And we all need value. We always want to find things that distinguish us from our competitors. So really look at it, as my dad would say, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Certification is just going to give you more options for competition. Next. If you're going to be a vendor with the state of Maryland, you have to be in good standing with the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation. You can check your status on their website, and in most cases, if there are any issues outstanding, you can resolve them online there as well. You know, just generally speaking, it is easier to maintain the good status than it is to repair it. So pay attention to your status and your standing with SDAT. Next. All the things that Kristen shared with you about EMA. Look, if you're going to receive a payment from the state of Maryland, you got to be registered in EMA. EMA is a very powerful tool, a business intelligence tool. Kristen showed you some great ways to search, not only for open opportunities, but take a look back and see who has been winning. Great way to develop relationships by knowing who's out there and competing and how they're competing. Again, free to register in this, just as a quick recap. And Kristen was very kind in her comments when she said that they recommend that you choose your codes, your UNSPSCS codes very well. I'm going to tell you it is one of the most critical components of your vendor registration. And even if you are registered, you should be taking another look at your codes. These need to be spot on. And if you are not getting the right kind of notices, or that you're not getting the right emails for the products and services that you offer, if that connection isn't really tight, then you need to go back and revise or update them so that you're getting the best connections. Because remember, From the state of Maryland, everything $15,000 and above is being published on EMA. It's also, of course, home for your SBR and VSBE certification platforms, and it gives you access to what counties and cities and municipalities are buying as well. So if you are interested in participating in state contracting at any level, you really need to be in EMA, and you need to learn how to use it efficiently. Next. So what is procurement? Well, you know, in the state of Maryland, purchasing is a very open and transparent process. And a lot of your success is going to depend on how well you understand us as your customer. For example, the state of Maryland doesn't buy anything, but agencies and departments within the state procure things. You improve your chances of success when you know the rules for how we are instructed to do business. And that is Code of Maryland Regulation, called COMAR. Our socioeconomic procurement programs are in Title 21. My recommendation to you, get a big cup of coffee, be alert and awake, and then sit down and read the rule book. You are going to be better positioned for success when you understand the environment fully. Next. The whole thing about public procurement here is competition, and we are spending taxpayer money here. So we have not done our job properly if there is not sufficient competition. This is true at the prime contractor level, but certainly at the subcontracting level as well. You need to expect to compete. Primes are going to have very rigorous vetting goals when they are choosing what subcontractors they will bring to a bid or to a contract. You do not expect that certification alone would be a sufficient reason for a prime contractor to choose you to be a subcontractor, and engage with the prime contractors at every opportunity so that you can build the relationships and that they are in place when the opportunities present themselves. Next. So there are 10 steps in a typical solicitation process. And this is you, again, understanding us as a customer and knowing how we work, right? And that insight to add value so that you know the process as well. There's a lot planning, documentation prep, as we've mentioned, publication on eMaryland Marketplace Advantage, on EMA. This is going to be everything over $15,000. These pre-bid proposal conference meetings, if there is an MBE goal on the contract, this will be mandatory. So you can be sure that there will be a pre-bid proposal. A lot of these are happening on virtual platforms now. So if the solicitation is at all of interest to you, you should read it. You should open it and read it and find out if and when and where the pre-bid solicitation, or the pre-bid conference or meeting, how it's going to be held, and participate. This is a great way to build relationships, whether you're a prime contractor or subcontractor. It's also a way to meet the buyers specifically from the agencies. And I'll talk a little bit later about how that type of a relationship can be leveraged later in the process. So next. The process continues on here. I want to just highlight this number 7, when vendors are notified for on a proposal. If you have submitted a solicitation through or responded to a solicitation that is a proposal, there may be an opportunity for a debriefing. Not something you're going to find in the private sector, so something you should take advantage of. It's a way to look at what your package, how your package was evaluated. They're not going to tell you anything about the competitors or who the apparent awardee is or what that award dollar is going to be, because that will become public information once the award is made. But during the debrief, you can just find out how you did and how you fared. And if it was as simple as you're not completing the package or missing some of the paperwork elements, those are things that you can fix, right? And you would need to know that. So the debriefing can really be valuable. If you are an MBE or VSBE subcontractor, you will have paperwork that's going to be due before an award can be made. So please be prompt review your participation on those documents and be prompt in returning it so you can keep the process moving forward, because it can't advance without those documents and could actually be stalled and stopped and then awarded to a different person. That we're trying to get to the end game, which is number 10, notice to proceed, winner, winner, chicken dinner, golden ticket. This is the end game. This is where you're all trying to go. Next. There are our two predominant procurement methods here are the invitation for bid and request for proposal, IFB, RFP, that is speaking in our language. So when you see those terms, you'll know what we're talking about. In a bid, basically, we're looking for a price. We know how many widgets we want, what size, what color, what date, what distribution, where they go. And we're just asking you to put a dollar amount on what it would cost to purchase it from you. In a request for a proposal, these are often a little more complex. Here, we know what we want in the end. We don't necessarily know how to get there. So we're asking you to define the pathway, kind of to provide the solution to where we're trying to go for that. Often could be a multi-step process. Both bids and proposals are seeking a responsive and responsible bidder. In bidding, we want the lowest price. In proposals, we want the most advantageous price. In both of these scenarios, when the solicitation is open, you need to ask questions to any area that you don't understand. There's no penalty for asking questions. Failing to ask a question could impact your submission and cause you to lose this opportunity. So always ask questions and always get your documents in on time. If the dog ate your homework in this case, or the beltway was, backed up and you didn't get to a 2 o'clock deadline and you got there at 2:05, there's no question your proposal will not be accepted. This is being relieved a little bit as more and more of the solicitations are electronic. If you have not hit the send button by the due date and the exact minute, the send button will simply not work. So always consider timing as you are building out your proposal process. Next. Responsive and responsible, use those words in both. Responsive means that you got all the documents done, you got them in on time. Responsible means that you've given us the details so that we understand the technical capacity and the capabilities to do the work. Responsive and responsible, key evaluators in the proposal process. Next. So we predominantly have four purchasing categories. Small procurement 1 and 2, and small procurement 3, and formal procurement. I'm going to look at them in batches here because there are a lot of similarities between some of the groups. So let's take a look at the next slide and take a look at small procurement category 1 and 2. These categories are basically direct solicitation methods. Under the $15,000 threshold, the law does not mandate publication on eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. So you will not typically find these on EMA. We're going to use oral solicitations. We're going to call people up from our Rolodex or our vendor list or contact list, and we're going to require them to, we're going to provide all the same specs to the people we're asking for pricing, and we're going to let them respond. And we're going to make a choice based on that information. So more opportunity for procurement officers to use their own judgment when making these decisions, right? So this is really the direct solicitation method. Next. In category 3 and formal procurements, we have hit the EMA threshold. So everything 15,000, actually $15,000 at 0.01 and above is going to be published on EMA. We're at written solicitation requirements here, and we're trying to get at least 2 valid quotes and bids. Remember what I said about competition. We're all about competition, right? We're going to award to the lowest or best responsive and responsible bidder or offer. Right? Category 3 is goes to a $50,000 threshold. Formal procurement is going to be everything over $50,000, but in practical purposes, These operate the same. Next. So just a few tips, because how you choose to perform for the state is going to make a difference on the pathways that you take and the kind of information that you need and the documents that you are going to be submitting. So if you are going to be performing as a prime contractor, just some simple basic things here, like always read and follow the bid instructions to the detail. Your bid can be dismissed by failing to do or follow instructions in the solicitation. Always attend the pre-bid meeting, ask questions about the package. This is the time to do that. If you are bidding as a prime and there are MBE or VSBE requirements on the contract, make sure you conduct your outreach early and that you have your partners aligned. You want to keep records of all your outreach efforts, and you're going to make sure you complete all of the documents. You may request waivers for MBE, but that outreach documentation is going to be critical in that process. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. There is absolutely no penalty for asking questions. However, if you're not on time, we're not taking it. We don't accept it. We cannot accept it. We will not accept it, right? If you are a prime contractor, or if you're an MBE or VSBE and you are, well, let me start. If you are an MBE and you want to perform as a prime and you're going to bid on a contract or a solicitation as a prime contractor, you are entitled to perform up to 50% of an established goal. Okay. If you are a VSBE firm, 100% of the whole contract is going to be awarded to you, including the VSBE goal. Okay. So we encourage MBEs and VSBEs to perform in the prime contracting arena. Next slide. On the subcontracting side, a few things to keep in mind. If you're going to bid as a subcontractor, you've got to know us as a customer. You need to understand the procurement process, but you need to understand how the prime does business. Because as a subcontractor, your direct contractual arrangement will be with the prime contractor and not with the state of Maryland. So when primes reach out to you, please try to respond to all the requests and offers that you get. Use them as the opportunity to build business relationships. This may not be the best contracting opportunity for you, but it doesn't mean that it's an opportunity to miss for building a relationship for the next potential opportunity. You want to document all correspondence, especially anything that you sign, and please know the scope of work, understand it. Don't submit quotes without that type of information. Don't do it in a vacuum. It's not a good business practice in general. It can be very devastating in the state contracting arena. Just be mindful of all the things, all the forms that you are signing, right? Next. If you are performing in that subcontracting role, you win the work, know that you should introduce yourself to the liaison for the agency. All the agencies that participate in the SBR and MBE programs have a designated person on staff that serves as a liaison and can help resolve any contracting issues that may arise when you are performing in that capacity. You should also know the prime contracting point of contact, somebody very specific that you are working with. And you should have a well-defined area of your scope of work and know exactly what their expectations of you are and the timing around that. You will have monthly payment forms that are required to be submitted to the state. Make sure you do them on time and get them in. Do what you say that you are going to do. Next. We have a contracting pipeline. This is, again, open and transparent spending of state money, of taxpayer money. And I want to just share with you one of the tools that are available and how to mine it as a business intelligence tool. So I'm going to use some screenshots to do that. Let's take a look at the next slide. This is the Procurement Forecast, and the Procurement Forecast is housed on our website at the Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs. You can see it in the green band to the far right side. Next. This provides everything that the agencies think they are going to be purchasing during a fiscal year, which for us is begins on July 1. And this is everything $100,000 or greater. However, because our agencies understand the value of small dollar or smaller dollar work, many of the agencies will, if they know of things that are in the queue, they will add them to the forecast as well. There are 5 different search options for this. And one of the most important things to note here is that you always want to export your findings. When you do this, it'll move it into an Excel format. So let's go ahead and do a search with the next screen. Here I've chosen a project that is for the 4th quarter of 2021. I selected my criteria. I hit the search button. What would happen here is it would load the search results directly on the screen. But when I hit the export to Excel button, it's going to convert it to an Excel document. So let's see the next screen. This is a look, and it's a partial view because the columns across the screen would just exceed the slide width, and it would make it really hard to see. So I've condensed it a little bit to make it easier for you. And this is just populated with so much great information. And what we can see here is the agency name. If there's actually an incumbent, this is work that's going to be rebid, then we know who the current winner is or the most recent person holding the contract. We would see if there are MBE participation goals. We get a description, we see the dollar amount, the terms of the contract. But we also get the purchasing officer's name, phone number, and contact information. This is really powerful stuff, right? Because I now get a sense of who is buying from what agencies and can begin to figure out what type of things those people buy. When we talked about the purchasing categories earlier, for the things under $15,000 that don't make it onto EMA but are being purchased at the agency level, this is how you begin to figure out who those people are. Next. Another quick search. Remember I said there are 5 different opportunities to do searches. This time I chose our friends at the Department of General Services. They manage all of the buildings across the state, right? So they're a good agency to look at. If I do my search and then I export my findings to Excel, next slide. I get this one. Now, again, this is a consolidated view. We couldn't fit it all onto the screen at one time. But I already know who the agency is because my search was built on DGS. And now I can look at some other factors that are also among the columns of data that are there. A description of the work, the location of where it's going to be. I can see my procurement method, a lot of competitive sealed bids here. But look again at now procurement officers. Here I'm beginning to learn who the procurement officers are at the Department of General Services, and by looking at the description of the type of work, I can begin to figure out what type of products they buy, right? So this becomes a way to work around the cold call, right? I don't have to just do this what's available for me type of a situation to find people. I can reach out to Calvin and say, Calvin, I found your name by doing some research on the Procurement Forecast. And I see that you are often involved with large purchases regarding something. I am interested in category 1 and 2 procurements, and would like to know if you're a point of contact or if you could direct me to someone else in your agency for those types of purchases. I'm not saying Calvin has the answer to your question, but he may be a great starting point. And we all prefer that type of a thing than just a cold call of the shotgun approach, right? So here's a way to technically or with a little bit more intention, reach out to procurement officers for not only what looks to happen from the procurement forecast, but ways to tap into those small procurements, category 1 and 2. Next slide. So like, how does it all come together? This is what your journey is all about. It's a very common question for me and for Kristen. People say, hey, what do you have for me? And I don't know the answer to that question, but because procurement is open and transparent and we have tools like Emma and the Procurement Forecast, there are ways for you to figure that out. Next. This is about, again, understanding us as a customer. You know, you have to, you can click again. This knowing us as a customer is how about you defining your value proposition. The most common question that you as a small business owner should be thinking about, and not only when you are trying to get a new customer, but to maintain existing customers, is what problem does my customer have that I can solve? And depending on the role that you are trying to play, the answer could be different. Next slide. Click it again. Yep. So you also need to be able to understand your rights and responsibilities. I think this is how you can really get out and compete with confidence. When you know the rules, you know the regulations, you understand the processes and procedures, again, regarding whatever role it is that you are trying to fulfill. Next slide. It's not easy, and people work at it for years to master these types of skill sets. So please get started, start testing the water, and compete often, right? We recently did a presentation on proposal writing skills, and during that I learned that people win about 20% of the time. You have to put yourself out there and you have to go out and compete. We want to be part of your journey and help connect you to resources and training opportunities at the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs. From our webpage, if you would like to know about the classes and offerings that we have, the things that we offer for free, you can go to our webpage and there's a Stay Connected box. In addition to our, there's all the descriptions for the programs are found on our website, as well as information on our technical training classroom webinar series, our monthly small biz bulletin. We have a very robust calendar of events that are all business development related type of events and training events. So not only things that we're hosting, but say things that you from the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and then a very wide set of resources, both private sector and public sector. So next slide. Thank you very much for letting me speak with you today and say a few words. I hope that you will look to determine if we can be a good customer for you and get out there and compete with confidence, because Maryland is open for business.
Thank you so much, Alison. A lot of information again. And we do appreciate you sharing that with us today. I do apologize for going over, but we will have some time, take some time to answer a couple of questions. Our first one is, if my company is already 8A certified and CVE certified, do you have a certification process with federal agencies that we're already qualified with?
I can't speak to the federal agencies, but from the state side, your federal certifications do not apply in the state contracting arena. So you still have to go through the state certification processes.
Okay, thanks. Could you revisit how to access the downloadable Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah, do you want to, do you want to just scroll back to some of the slides?
Yeah,
or do you want to
sure.
jump out to our website and we can do a live one?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let me share my screen so that we can do that. Okie dokie. Let's see. Okay, so you direct me then.
So we're going to go to GOMD. There we go. And the procurement forecast is in the green band far to the right side. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that DGS search again. So we're going to search by agency and click the drop down and scroll down to general services. Remember, not all agencies are the same size. Some of them don't buy a lot of stuff, right? So you're going to now click the search.
Oh, sorry, I had to deselect and then I'm going to select general.
Right. And then hit the word search. And now the screen has populated, but scroll up and back up a little bit more and click the export to Excel button. Right, so it's going to download an Excel. Do you want to accept the file? Yeah. And what's great here is you can enable editing here. So you can edit out things that don't apply and start building your business development hot sheet right here from this Excel spreadsheet. Feed in more information from other searches. You can search multiple categories at the same, like we could search Department of General Services 4th quarter. If we want to. But when you're using it as a business intelligence tool and you're really mining it for things like cycles of contracts, regions where work is performed, you're trying to get insights. So the details are nice as well, but when you are mining for business information, business intelligence information, you're trying to go more for general insights. Get the names of the buyers. So that's all the way over to the right. I think you're gonna have to scroll over a little bit more. And yes, the price of some of this there might be a $2 million contract that is out of your bandwidth right now, but that doesn't mean that we're not making smaller purchases. So if Calvin is making $2 million purchases, Calvin might also be making $25,000 purchases. And if Calvin isn't, he may know who would be. So again, it eliminates that need for that cold call and creates a platform for a conversation of, Calvin, I found you on the state procurement forecast. I see that you often purchase trash removal services. I provide local trash removal services and I'm interested in category 1 and category 2 opportunities. Can I connect with you to discuss this further, or could you help me find the appropriate person inside your location?
Okay, that's great. Great example. So unfortunately, we're out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up. And I would like to thank all of our presenters today for giving us fantastic information. As I said, we really could do probably an hour or 2 hour session for each of you to go into depth, but we'll have to look at that in the future. I'd like to thank all of the small businesses that attended today. We couldn't do our jobs without you. We hope that your businesses have survived and are thriving despite what's happened with COVID, and that we hope to meet you all again soon when we start networking in person. I would like to tell you about a couple of events coming up in June that are sponsored or partnered with Ptac and PGC EDC. One is selling to the federal government and one is selling to prime construction companies. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box for you to sign up for that. I encourage you to read these presentations. I'm going to email them to you now. Go through them again. The replay will be available tomorrow. Watch that again if you need to. I know it's a lot of information to take on board, and take the advice of the speakers today and take action. So thanks to our speakers and our panelists. Thank you to all of you for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.